if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and do my first proper combiner review. These 5 dudes are the Energon Destruction Team. And what a bad bunch of dudes they are. You know me, I like to keep it brief, so potentially reviewing 6 toys at once might not be conducive to my style. So it was very gracious of Hasbro to include not 1, but 2 pairs of repaints in this set. Bargain. I think I'll start with this guy. This is Blight. What a great name. He's obviously the Swindle of the group, and as such is my favourite, being as I am a huge Swindle fan. I just love the colour scheme. Both this guy and his mate Kickback transform into tanks as an homage to G1 Brawl. They kind of ruined Kickback's colour scheme by taking the orange from Brawl's visor and splashing it all over his face. But anyway, the robot mode is sweet. It's all weapons and attitude, and it even gets away with having these daft kibble wings and ski feet. These guys also both have a handheld weapon, but they don't need it. They've got built-in arm cannons. The transformation's pretty easy, but it's also pretty easy to get wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've ended up with these cannons pointing the wrong way, or falling off. I do love the tank mode though, it's muscular and compact, like corned beef. And again, you can slap the silly weapon on top if you want to, but they don't need it. You don't need it, Blight! And finally, to transform it into one of the limbs, you can just slap it on the front there, to make either a hand or a foot. That's a pretty weird hand though. I always use these as legs, which is really interesting. Moving on, this guy's called Blackout. He's a helicopter and he's purple and grey, so I guess that means he's Vortex? I think I heard somewhere that movie Blackout was originally going to be called Vortex as well. So does that mean that all Decepticon helicopters are the same person? Apparently not, because there's an orange one too. This guy's called Stormcloud, which is kind of confusing. He's like the only one in my collection whose name I consistently get wrong. Anyway, I'm very fond of these dudes. The robot mode's a bit dorky, but the transformation's really satisfying. Check that. That is a sweet alt mode. I don't mind so much having 2 of these and leaving out Blastoff, because having a shuttle in the team was always going to be a bit problematic. Transforming it into a limb is really tricky, and I always get it wrong, which is why I didn't film it. I always use these dudes for the arms because the guns they come with are just blatantly big hands, and if you use them as a foot, they always fall off, which is a real pain in the ass. Rounding off the team then is Barricade. He's the big guy, the leader guy, the main guy, the blue guy. I totally would have believed it if they'd just called him Onslaught, were it not for the earmuffs and the total absence of weapons. What is that about? Surely he deserved a big rifle or something. But as I mentioned, Blight and Kickback come with one of these each, and they don't need them, so Barricade gets to use them. That's just how things work in my house. The only thing that winds me up about the robot mode is this backpack he ends up with. It's just enormous and unsightly. But I can deal with that. Who cares what's on somebody's back anyway? Check this vehicle mode. This is bitchin'. Look at this. Fully rotatable, ratcheted missile launchers. Sweet as it is, you can still see his head in there. Look at that. Honestly, what's going on there? But again, I like it enough to overlook that. Anyway, guess what's about to happen? So here he is, Bruticus Maximus. I don't tend to go for leader class figures or anything really big, so this guy is one of the biggest ones I own. He's by no means the biggest, but if you cheat and include these rotor blades, which I do, I'd probably give him another 4 or 5 centimetres. So he's definitely up there. So check it out, he's got loads of articulation, particularly for a combiner. His arms move this way and they move that way. His waist works too, and his head. His knees work too. He's got this tiny little shiny Decepticon logo in there. That might have a name, I'm not sure. But it doesn't work on Barricade in either mode, because on robot mode it's on his back, and in vehicle mode it's upside down. So it's exclusively for the combined form, which is kind of nice. Also with the hands you can kind of do the rock horns, although his fingers are so rigid it kind of comes out more like a shadow puppet of a goat. There aren't many things I don't like about this, but there are a couple. First off, I've got to say I really don't like the hands and feet. They're baby blue and they're transparent, which is really inappropriate for a Decepticon wrecking machine of this caliber. Also, as the helicopters are so useless as legs, you have to use the tanks, but he can't really stand up straight unless you leave one kibble wing out on each side. Also, he doesn't seem to have any weapons. You could probably still use these cannons, but it'd be nice if you had something handheld, like a rifle. I think that would just set it off real nice. Also, the panel that the head sits on there is always popping off, which is kind of irritating. I suppose I could also have a good old gripe about the repaints, but How different were the aerial bots, really? Despite all the minor complaints I could possibly have, I still love this guy to bits. He is my big buddy. And he is brutal to the max.